Hey everyone, this is Mirage, and welcome back to another episode of the Saloon Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing, Sword and Shield, as we promised last time. I'm gonna, as usual, leave this to Werner, because he has a better memory of Sword and Shield than I do, so I'll leave it to him for the most part, and occasionally chime in from time to time when I remember something.
So, Pokemon Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield, Sword and Shield. What started off red and blue stays colored red and blue. But enough of the Fopples minion quotes aside. Whoa, these games have certainly done some things. I'll give them that. They've divided an entire fan base, which is kind of crazy when you think of that, because the Pokemon community was pretty chill up until these games came out, so.
Yep.
But we're going to be fair in our judgment. We're going to talk about the good stuff and the bad stuff with Sword and Shield,
Yep.
And apologies if you're watching this from my channel and you already would have known that I think Sword and Shield are good games, because I talked about it on the Swirlycast, which is my podcast show. Plug, but I think this allows us to get a bit more of an in-depth look at the game, because I didn't get a lot of time to explain my thoughts and what exactly we want to have. So yeah, let's get into it. And we also have Mirage here, so that's always great to hear. So
Yep.
So Sword and Shield, what did they do to make themselves the most controversial games in the series? Right after your Let's Goes and your all that stuff. Well, it subtracts, and it adds. You remember last episode when we were saying that Sun and Moon were weird? Well, Sword and Shield are even weirder, if you can believe it.
Yep.
So,
Definitely.
there are some honest to goodness leaps and bounds that Sword and Shield does that make them some of the best games in the series, but there are also some heart crushing subtractions that make it level out into just being okay. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. Let's go ahead and take this one step at a time, as we usually do. Big shiny original gimmick, Dynamax. If you thought Z moves were kind of boring and generic, well, maybe with a super powerful move that you can only use once, say hello say hello to Mega Evolution's younger stepbrother, who always tried to be like him.
Dynamax. Oh boy.
So
Dynamax. The concept behind Dynamax, kinda cool, but kinda missed its mark. And that's mainly because of the fact that, yes, it powers you up and you do a lot more damage. You only have 3 turns when using Dynamax. It's very limited compared to Mega Evolutions, whereas with Mega Evolutions, when using those, you're actually using it the entirety of the round,
mm-hmm.
unless you happen to your Pokemon happens to faint that's Mega Evolved, but that's the only other exception. So whereas this is just essentially Mega Evolution Light or Discount Mega Evolution, which really
Diet
really
Mega
sucked.
Evolution.
Yeah, Diet Discount. Uh,
Slash 50%, and no
Salvation Army. I don't know.
gluten free. There you go.
Yeah, that's pretty much Dynamax in a nutshell. It's Mega Evolution, but worse.
And to be honest, I really don't like that every Pokemon can use it, aside from the title legendaries and Eternatus, which is the final legendary Pokemon in the game. But we'll get to that in a little bit when we talk about the story. But and
Yeah.
the reason why Mega Evolution was so cool is that it gave new Pokemon, gave older Pokemon that previously struggled a new coat of fresh air. Pokemon like Mawile, Sableye, and the Charizards, just to name a few, were previously not that good, but with their Megas, they made them absolutely great. So much
I'm
so
not.
that, oh, sorry,
No, 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 go on.
so much so that both Sableye and Mawile were both banned to Ubers in the competitive scene in ORAS.
Yeah, another reason why Dynamaxing doesn't feel so special is because it's given. It's essentially given to every single Pokemon, whereas Mega Evolution was only given to a certain handful of Pokemon that genuinely needed it,
Mm-hmm.
such as Charizard, Heracross, Pidgeot, Beedrill, uh, Bennett, uh, uh,
Mawile and
Mawile,
Sableye.
yeah. Yeah, Sableye definitely needed it. Um, Tyranitar also needed it too. There were a lot of Pokemon that needed a Mega Evolution to truly, you know, make their way to Ubers and, you know,
And OU,
competitive play.
yeah, OU and
So
Ubers are pretty much the places to be for competitive Pokemon. And while not every Mega made it into the higher tiers, like it still gave them new life in the competitive scene. And even just outside of playing competitively, it still is nice to have Pokemon with better stats altogether. Like, and some of the Mega designs were genuinely awesome, like Mega Sceptile, Mega Lucario, Charizard X, Mega Rayquaza, as busted as he is. It's truly something special.
indeed. So Mega Evolutions were great. Dynamaxing isn't because it's just a pointless gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
That's essentially meant to, well, take up the role of, uh, well, Mega Evolution, but do it and but be executed in a way that's far worse.
And it
So
and it also replaces Sun and Moon Z moves by having super powerful max moves that you can perform for 3 turns.
that as well, but I feel like it's about as gimmicky as the Z moves.
Even more so, considering that like every Pokemon can use them, and while certain there were Pokemon with certain Z crystals, like that's certainly a thing. It certainly goes back to what Gigantamaxing was, which is essentially giving Pokemon new looks whenever they Dynamax. It's definitely
Oh
not a Mega
right,
Evolution.
oh right, yeah, you make a good point. But point being is that Dynamaxing isn't great.
Yeah, sure, it's fun. Dynamax raid battles are fun, but aside from that, there's a reason why Dynamaxing was banned from competitive use.
Indeed,
Which brings us to some of the good advancements and some of the subtractions that they made in being friendly towards that scene altogether. So, in the post game, you'll be able to change your Pokemon's natures and buy stat raising items a lot more efficiently by doing stuff in the place called the Battle Tower. And this makes competitive Pokemon a lot more friendly to those who have never played it before or are just too lazy to download Pokemon Showdown. But yeah, if you want to play in the actual games, like yeah, Sword and Shield are pretty much the best competitive experience if you don't care about the national decks. But don't worry, we'll get to it. But and because like the mints, they change your Pokemon's nature and makes things easier for IVs, EVs, all the other stuff, and it's great. On the inverse side, Dynamaxing is kind of unbalanced. This kind of relates back to what we were talking about earlier. So, one of the new Pokemon forms, and yes, we'll also get to that too, but Galarian Darmanitan has a signature ability called Guerrilla Tactics, which powers up your attack, but you can only use one move. So, logically, this would mean that if you want to have an awesome spread, like have that Darmanitan use Icicle Crash, that will be fine. Dynamaxing, however, removes the choice lock that keeps those items balanced. So you can use Icicle Crash, get a flinch, Dynamax, and then use super powerful max moves for 3 turns, and then it resets your lock.
What? Wow. That
Yeah,
that sounds what's the word? Inconvenient?
it's unbalanced. That's what it is.
Oh, oh, unbalanced. Oh,
And yeah, that's why I said that Dynamaxing was banned from all layers of the metagame, aside from VGC, which is Pokemon's official tournaments, if you don't know. I watch way too much False White Gaming to know too much about Pokemon competitive, so, but even still, like, that, for most Smogon layers in the meta, yeah, you can't use Dynamax.
oh, jeez.
Because of tactics like that.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Oh,
Again, if you thought that Sun and Moon were 1 step forward, 2 steps back, that's pretty much the philosophy with Sword and Shield. But
yep.
let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about the new Pokemon and the new forms. So, in terms of the new Pokemon, in a more positive light, I think this may be some of my favorite new mods of any generation.
Oh,
Cinderace,
absolutely.
Hatterene, Corviknight, Boltund, Colossal, so many great new Pokemon in this generation.
Inteleon.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, forgot the name of the grass type evolution. Like the
Rillaboom.
Rillaboom. Oh, they're
Yeah,
they're they're really cool.
they really outdid themselves with the starters this generation in particular.
Absolutely, yeah. Um, we also have other Pokemon like Roly Poly, which evolves into
Colossal, I mentioned that already.
oh right, yeah, Colossal,
Alcremie.
yeah, Alcremie, and then you get like Boltund. Boltund is neat. I like Boltund a lot. Boltund, you have Obstagoon. Obstagoon's great.
Mm-hmm.
There are a bunch of really good Pokemon, and then
And
you also have uh Surfetched. Surfetched is cool too.
which, and funny you should mention that because now we go on to the Galarian Forms, a much, much, much better system than Alolan Forms. Sure,
Indeed.
I like the refreshes that they gave old Gen 1 Pokemon, but I'm so happy that they expanded out to other gens in this game. Pokemon like Stunfisk, Farfetch'd, um,
Zigzagoon.
Zigzagoon, and Ponyta.
Oh yeah, Ponyta. Yeah,
So many awesome new designs. And,
definitely.
and of
Oh,
course, like we mentioned earlier, Darmanitan.
I think they also did Mr. Mime as well.
Yeah, they did, Mr. Mime.
Yeah,
And a lot of these Pokemon did get new evolutions, like Mr. Rhyme, Obstagoon, Surfetch'd. So many great new mons.
yeah. And Meowth, I think, got one too,
Yeah, and Berserker. Berserker is actually one of my favorite Pokemon this generation.
which is great. So we got like a bunch of new um Galarian Pokemon and Galarian evolutions. It's
Yeah,
insane.
yeah. They. If there's anything that you can't fault Sword and Shield for, it's their designs. There were a lot of really good ones in terms of new Pokemon.
Yeah, absolutely. Sword and Shield, when it comes to new Pokemon, is phenomenal. Uh, but yeah, I think other than that, I think that's all of the new That's pretty much most, if not all, the new Pokemon we've covered.
Yeah. So, in terms of what we think is bad about the game, oh boy, here we go. There isn't a national dex. Brr, 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 brr. Yeah, if you've been on Twitter for more than 5 minutes in the Pokemon community, chances are you would have seen bring back national dex. I hate it. You
Oh,
hate it. Mirage probably hates it. We all hate it. We already know there's no national dex. You can't bring every Pokemon into the game. Wah wah. It sucks. Let's pull out the band aid and let's move on. We already talked about it in the Sun and Moon episode, and we're just giving brief mention to it here because I feel like we would be burned at the stake if we didn't.
I actually wanted to say I didn't mind the removal of Pokemon that much.
Me
Um,
neither, because like they did have to import a lot of mons with their data because it was their first HD game, so
Actually, I think I know the real reason why, they didn't end up bringing all the Pokemon over from Gen 7 to Gen 8.
what's that?
Uh, they they messed their model importer thing screwed up, but they made excuses and lies about it, as which is why they didn't end up bringing all the Pokemon over.
Yeah, I think that might be a pretty valid reason altogether because like unlike things that are 'cause Pokemon had to have all of their data, their models, their animations, like those things take time. They're not as easy as people think to
Well, yeah, that I agree with, but the one thing I do feel that they shouldn't have done was lie about it.
yeah, I feel like that's something that they shouldn't have done.
They should have they should have been upfront with it, but being Game Freak being the big corporation that they are, did just that. They lied about the fact that their model importer was messed up.
Either that
So
or it was the Pokemon company trying to cover everything up, so
yeah, either way, it was a really scummy move on their part.
yeah. But aside from that, you know, there are a couple things that actually do bother me about Sword and Shield. There's no
And
toggle for
probably me as well.
the experience here.
Yeah, I think that's something I've noticed as well. I think you just have it from the very beginning or something.
You have it from the very beginning, yes, but there's no
And
way to turn it off.
yeah, so every time you level up, all of your Pokemon level up at once, which is kind of annoying. So
It's convenient, but
basically,
it's also very annoying because it makes the game way too easy.
I wouldn't say easy. I'd say actually, yeah, it kind of does. But if you want to level up one Pokemon at a time, you have to like basically take all of your Pokemon out of your bot or out of your party, put them into a box, and then use only one of your Pokemon, which is really, really, really inconvenient and
Very
time
much so.
consuming. And nobody really wants to do that just for it to be fair. So that's a pretty big problem.
And that's why I recommend any new Nuzlocke start with Sword and Shield because they pretty. I think they are actually the easiest games in the series.
You're probably right. But yeah, I definitely do agree with that. Um, as for other things regarding more serious issues like its visuals, oh boy, anyone remember the wild area? Yeah,
Ocarina of Time look in 2019 looking like.
this will be graphics in 2021.
uh, yeah, there's no denying it. The game does it looks good, but man, when it looks bad, it looks drab. Wild.
It's visually, in terms of its graphical fidelity, it's very inconsistent. Sometimes it looks good, other times it doesn't. Depends on which area you're in, and that's not really good. What's worse is that when they marketed the game, they marketed the worst areas possible. So it made everyone believe that Sword and Shield was graphically the worst game out of any other Pokemon game.
Yeah, because the wild area was the big new addition. Like, you could run around, but like, run around, find Pokemon dance, but like, honestly, it isn't that much different from going out of a route. going
Yeah,
onto a route and then finding Pokemon that way. Sure, and realistically, you only go to the wild area twice when playing through the main story. You don't have to go there for unless you're doing stuff in the post game.
precisely. So, yeah, wild area kind of stinky.
Yeah,
But yeah, aside from the wild area, there are other issues regarding Sword and Shield, but I'll let Burner take over again.
yeah. My one of my other biggest issues with Sword and Shield is its story.
Yeah, I've heard about its story in some cases.
The story of Sword and Shield, it goes back to having gyms, which I think is a good reason. It makes them feel a lot more important. You know,
Was a good move, yeah.
yeah, because like having stadiums within gyms, I feel like is a good while. It makes gym battles feel a lot more alive. I like that. The problem arises in the story when it comes to the game's main villain. Spoilers in three, two, one. Cherimimeros is probably the worst Pokemon villain.
Yep.
So it tries to be a twist villain. Unlike, say, Lucamine, which we discussed in the last episode, she has a reason for she's crazy conservative Pokemon lady who and appreciates artificial beauty and wants to have an Ultra Beast for herself. She likes to have all the Pokemon, all that stuff. She's crazy, and it is a fascinating take on a Pokemon villain. How did we go from one of the better villains in the series to the worst? I have no idea.
Yeah. I if I recall, I think Chairman Rose's goal was to what was it, to awaken Eternatus?
It was to bring about the dark day, the darkest hour or darkest day or whatever it was so lamely timed to prevent an energy crisis 1,000 years in the future.
Oh.
It tries to be sympathetic, but like,
So he's basically doing something for what he believes is for the better of, I guess, the world of Pokemon.
yeah. So it's kind of so he isn't really that threatening of a villain on his own.
He's
Remember
like
Lucy?
one of those self-unaware villains.
Yeah, I miss when Pokemon villains were actually evil. I remember Giovanni? Remember Getsis?
Yep, Getsis. I totally remember Getsis.
Those
And I
guys were
remember
actually
Giovanni.
evil.
Yep.
And we remember them because they were good at what they did. They were intimidating and they were awesome. Chances are, if you show anyone new to Pokemon Chairman Rose, they probably wouldn't be able to tell that he's a villain. He's just a guy in a suit. He tries to resolve an energy crisis, but by awakening a legendary Pokemon. But aside from that, yeah, he's just a dude who runs a business.
And made a really big mistake. And that's it.
And it kind of ruins the point of his assistant, Oleana. Sure, she masks her trash behavior with artificial beauty. That's some bit of Lucamine that coming through, but again, it feels very half baked.
Yeah.
Maybe tossing in a few clues every now and then would probably make you not believe Rose, but oh, we're just gonna pull the rug under you. Rose is actually the villain, and we know when we were about to battle Leon, the champion. So
Yeah, that I'm not really a fan of. Ooh.
yeah, but
So what else is there to cover?
I think the last thing we should go over is a brief discussion on the DLC, and then we're going to talk about where we think that the series should go. This is going to be a bit of a longer episode, by the way. So
No, right, yeah, because DLC.
right, so
Isle of Armor and Frozen,
Crown
something
Tundra.
Tundra. Yeah, Crown Tundra, like that. Yeah.
Okay, so I played through both DLC packs. I don't know if Mirage has, so I
I
think
have not.
so. It'll mostly be me. But Isle of Armor, Crown Tundra are definitely where this game does get better. Their wild areas are actually pretty decent to look at, aside from the rainy areas, which the rain in this game makes anything look drab. But yeah, there are different stories. They take place at different times. You can get stuff like the Galarian Star Tournament. There's new Pokemon to find, and yeah, that's definitely where the game gets good. Isle of Armor less so for me personally because I'm not a big fan of NPC battling, and that's pretty much what the Isle of Armor is. But I do like the sort of rite of passage discovery that the new Pokemon Cubfu goes to, so you can get an Urshifu. I like that,
Yeah.
but is it really something that I'd want to go back and replay? Not really. Crown Tundra, on the other hand, is a complete 180. This is where I spend most of my time when I play Sword and Shield nowadays. Playing Dynamax Adventures is probably one of the best new innovations in the DLC. Battling legendary Pokemon together with your friends, it's fun.
And what's even better is that they lowered the encounter rate of getting a shiny to like uh
I don't know we don't know the odds in particular, but like yeah, it's
it's
pretty easy to find shiny Pokemon in the Dynamax den. It's pretty cool, and I know people who
I
do
believe
shiny.
it's I believe the odds are 2,000, and then with a shiny charm it's like 100 or something.
Yeah, it's pretty high, and so and
Yeah.
um and yeah, I know people who do just who do shiny on the Dynamax Sprint 10s, myself included. I'm currently hunting Tapu Fini in Latias, so
Hmm.
but yeah,
But
they're in terms of that game story, or what were we gonna say, Mirage, before I go off on this tangent?
no, go on, go on.
Okay, so in terms of that game story about the learning about the history of the Harvest Festival with Calyrex and new characters like Peony, whose theme absolutely slaps, by the way. Yeah, it's really good. I definitely prefer the story of Crown Tundra older over Isle of Armor, and I think that's where most of the time went. Sure, it is just an Arctic tundra, but like Arctic tundras can still look good.
Oh yeah,
It may not be the best looking area of Sword and Shield, but I think it still does look pretty nice on occasion.
let alone the most interesting. But yeah,
Yeah. And again, after you complete everything, you get the Galarian Star Tournament. You can team up with any main NPC in the game, gym leaders, his rivals, all that other stuff. It's pretty awesome.
mm-hmm. So overall, I take it that Sword and Shield is pretty much a mixed bag for you.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
Again, I go on.
I honestly agree. It's my experiences with it was pretty good in some areas, pretty questionable in others.
Hmm.
It was a mixed bag for me as well.
But
But
hey,
there were,
I'll go on.
I was gonna say, there are things to be enjoyed from Sword and Shield, but there are also things that you should be aware of before playing it, of course.
Hmm.
But yeah, Sword and Shield, it's decent. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's all right. It's a middle ground between being great and terrible.
Better than Old Sun and Moon, so
Yep. uh, so I'd say yeah, Sword and Shield is a step up from Sun and Moon, but still not as great as say Black and White or Diamond and Pearl,
yeah. And
but definitely
honestly,
a step up from Sun and Moon.
yeah. And honestly, that's what we kind of want going forward with the series. We want things to be consistent. We want them to be fun. That's what we look for in a good Pokemon game. And hopefully, whenever the next one gets released in 2021, because we all know that it's gonna happen. So,
The Diamond and Pearl remake,
or whatever thing Game Freak
or
decides to
Gen 9. Yeah. either or. But yeah, uh, regarding what I'm looking forward to, I just want a good Pokemon game. I really don't care.
Yeah. Sword and Shield did bring a lot of really good additions, and I feel like under certain circumstances, they actually can be pretty underrated. But in other circumstances, there's a reason why it is one of the most controversial. It is the most controversial generation so far. So,
Yeah, but I do feel as though that they are heading in the right direction with this one,
hmm
despite it all. They're definitely heading in the right direction.
when the next game includes all the Pokemon again, and it actually does look really, really good, maybe the series will be back to a stable ground. Who knows?
Yeah, but overall, that's our general thoughts regarding Sword and Shield. If you all enjoyed this podcast between Brenner and I, please stay tuned for the next episode, which may or may not happen very shortly. Who knows? But anyways, we'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.